as an atheist, it's easy to start staring yourself blind on extreme religions, a fundamentalist claptrap that is just not worth even thinking about. And you might lose sight of the fact that there are actually religions out there that are not evil, or for want of a better word, but I think there are religions out there that can actually be classified as not only benign, but even positively valuable, good for the person who holds those beliefs, and so on and so forth. Now, when I start this series of videos here, what I want to avoid is coming across as condescending or patronizing, and I sincerely hope this will not be interpreted as such. Thank you. Now, in this first video then, I'm going to look at how it could be possible for that religions would arrive at certain levels of knowledge that are comparable and compare favorably even to what we've achieved technologically or scientifically. And to do that, I would like to bring your attention to this book here. It's called The Gift by Lewis Hyde. And one interesting chapter about it is about a gift relationship between tribal societies and nature. I'm going to start talking about one example here about Indians and salmon fishing. The Indians in this book here, they used to catch the first salmon and treat it as if it was a special guest to the village. The priest or his associates would lay the fish out on an altar, they would prepare it specially, they would make sure that pieces of fish got broken off and everybody in the village would get a little piece of it. And in the end, what they did then is they would return the bones, take the bones and return them to the sea, give them back to the sea, because what they thought, what they believed was that fish would inhabit human forms and live under the surface of the sea, only to come over to spawn and feed the tribes and then return to the sea again. And by not returning the bones to the sea, they would, displease the fish or stop it from returning the next year. Now, of course, if we look at this from a purely scientific point of view, and we might just dismiss it as nonsense and think it's all ridiculous, but you'd be wrong. Because this is how the book explains it then. It says, the first salmon ceremony establishes a gift relationship with nature, a formal give and take that acknowledges our participation in and dependence upon natural increase. Now, if this sounds familiar, then it should, because this is the sort of science, in the scientific circles, that has become more and more established, more and more accepted over recent years. It's just ecological sense what's being done here. Except that's not how the Indians saw it. They couched this in religious terms. They would have a religious ceremony, and they would have a myth around the whole thing that would, explain how it worked to the Indians. But it had the same effect. So instead of just dismissing a religious ceremony like that as nonsense, we might want to think about how did they arrive at such a ceremony, and where did it come from? How did they get that basic level of understanding that took us so long to achieve by scientific means? Now, clearly, you can see that science has its merits here, because we did eventually get there, and we are now in a position that, understanding nature better than the Indians did, we can improve on this, and we can actually establish an even better relationship with nature and get even more out of it and give more back to it as well. But the Indians got there first with their religion. We got there second with our science. So, this is a clear example where just because something is of a religious nature it's not worthless. And secondly, it might make you think about, why do we actually have religion? Obviously, people have been thinking about this from a scientific perspective, and proposed possible evolutionary reasons or mechanisms behind it. That's all well and good, of course, and it explains why we got religion, where religion came from, and so on, and how it established itself into the human species. But what we mustn't forget is that it also indicates that there is value to religion. It evolved because it had a benefit to us. It evolved because it made us procreate better. It evolved because without it, people didn't procreate as well. People who were religious were happier and had more offspring. Why was that? Now, as an atheist, I would obviously not go in anywhere near any reasoning that involves the existence of a God for this. But it does mean that religion has a function in life, or it can have a function in life. It cannot simply be dismissed as nonsense. In some cases it can. Look at fundamentalism, look at creationism. It's a load of bollocks, as they say here. But look at other religions, and even though on the surface, superficially, they are, literally speaking, a load of bollocks, there is a reason why they turned out the way they were, and they did have a clear benefit and function to the people possessing them. And just because now we might be in a position where we don't have to have this anymore, doesn't mean that it was bad back then. And it might be reasoned that maybe there might be benefits to being religious now even. Obviously, I don't think that, to me personally, that would be the case. But that doesn't mean that it has to be a general thing. Atheism is hard work. It is not easy to be an atheist. It also isn't easy to be religious, I have no doubt. But it is something that comes more natural to human beings. For whatever reason, I don't know. And as such, it is clear that many religious people can be quite well adjusted, can be quite reasonable, level-headed people, not crazy Bible thumpers, not terrorists who go and blow up things, not at all. And don't get distracted by the fact that a place like this here, YouTube, attracts loonies like shit, attracts flies. I know quite a few religious people, and none of them are crazy. They're all perfectly ordinary, normal people who are perfectly capable to exercise common sense and who just happen to believe certain things. Nobody is crazy enough to believe that there's something wrong with me, and I certainly don't believe there's something wrong with them. Thank you.